Welcome back, everybody, to Salute to Industries. Here we have a fun Salute to Industries because we're actually featuring ourselves, our own company, VetJobs and Military Spouse Jobs. Cue the music. Where we at? We have founder Deb Kleppel, who started this back in, I have to think, back in 2004. Wow. So really have matured into the nation's leading charity organization. Cue the music. I'm like,
that should have been me doing that. I'm sorry, I failed, guys.
You need the button. My editing cue to the engineer to get it going. But and Stacy Baton, who's been around probably shortly after 2004, 2007, 2008. And you guys have really evolved the organization into what it is today. So let's dive into it. We're going to just get down and dirty about what it means to work here at VetJobs, a little bit about the industry for those out there, because these guys are actively hiring. So we want to talk about, what you're doing to hire, what positions you're hiring for, who you're looking for. I mean, it's December 30th, 2020. We got COVID-19 here. So let's lob this one out, and we'll start with Stacy here. We'll start with Deb. Deb, tell us about the company, what the industry, the charity industry. It's a little bit different animal than, Wall Street or anything like that. Tell us a little bit about the organization in that, if you can, please.
That's a great first question, Don. And I would think that most people will tell you, if they've worked in both for-profits and nonprofits like Stacy has, nonprofit can be a lot harder. In a for-profit environment, you have a product, a widget, something that they can see and it's tangible. And in a nonprofit, it's your mission. And if you don't produce, and Stacy and Don and Alex, you've all helped me. If you don't message that mission appropriately, continually, and in a streamlined fashion, you're not going to get the funding. So it's vastly different in that you don't have the visual thing to touch, except you're touching lives every single day. And even that, Don, can work against you in that people are tired of their heartstrings being pulled, especially during COVID. So I think one of the things we're really good at, and I'm talking to the three people right now, Alex and Don and Stacy, and I would add the senior team as well, we're extremely good at. We don't wear people out with the heartstring approach. We're all about metrics, and Stacy can address that.
Well, it's a great pivot into the next part, and let's talk about what that means as surviving in the industry, because as you say, you're not selling a product, you're selling services, which is funded on, fundraising, pun intended, exactly. I think. And Stacy's and you guys are heavily involved in that as the leadership, in driving the bus. So it's, how do you make that happen? At 17 years you've been at this. I mean, that's a testament of time. How does one go about that? How well are you guys healed for 2021 and the years to come in this competitive landscape of fundraising, especially coming out of COVID right now and at the tapering down of COVID-19?
I'll let Stacy answer that, because where Stacy is the heart of our fundraising. Stacy is the operations expert. I go in and sort of close what Stacy starts. And so I think Stacy is the appropriate one for that question.
Well, I think first and foremost, I'm going to brag for a minute on Deb, because she's really very intelligent when it comes to the fundraising and the structuring and your baseline support for the organization. I've never worked with another group of folks who really felt it was very important as a charity to have 3 to 5 years banked at all times for sustainability. That's huge. And first and foremost, that's attractive to funders who see that and realize that not only are you sustainable, for the number of years that we have been, but you are financially intelligent. You understand what it truly means to maintain that sustainability in the market. And to thrive. Because one of the things that funders really look at is your diversity in how you're currently fundraising. And unfortunately, a lot of charities approach this from the aspect of, I'm going to fundraise right now for what I need next year. And that affects their ability to be sustainable. We're not fundraising for next year. We're fundraising for 3 to 5 years out. So it's a whole other ballgame for us. And also that's a comfort to the people who work here. Because one of the things that Deb and the Admiral message every year to our team, and they truly appreciate it, is we have the funding. You are safe. Your job is not in jeopardy. You know, there are people being laid off, furloughed during COVID. You are not one of them. You don't have that worry. We have the funding for next year and the next 3 to 5 years. So that's a comfort for your team here. And then also speaks highly to, again, the funders as we're out there fundraising.
Well, before we pivot out of that question real quick, let me touch on this because it brought up something to think of. We can do a shameless plug for any companies out there who have dollars in the bank and are looking for a metric-driven organization who's proven results. Number one in the industry, 800-pound gorilla in the room, VetJobs, military spouse jobs. We want your money is what you're saying, basically. So we welcome the opportunity to talk about your money, basically. And let's touch base real quick before Alex is going to hop in on the next question. You guys, what's interesting to me is so many people do events, galas. You guys solely focus on grants and corporate donations, correct?
Correct. And I think for that, Don, we wanted to ensure that we're not a flash bang nonprofit in any way. Yeah. And I'm not saying that these events are that. No, they're very important to the social aspect of the candidate. We totally get that. But at VetJobs and military spouse jobs, we're all about the job placement. We've stayed in our lane since 2004. If it doesn't directly lead to a job placement, we've all determined it's busy work. I want to go back to something Stacy said too, because it involves the sustainability and our metrics. We have one of the most senior staff on the planet of a nonprofit that I've ever encountered. We don't have a revolving door of independent contractors or workers here. We have seniority here. So with seniority comes wisdom. And so when you look at VetJobs and military spouse jobs, our mission, it is so clear, it is so streamlined. Stacy isn't afraid to improve a process that's already a good process. And we're very, very big on, as I said before, not doing the busy work. And I'm not suggesting events are busy work. For an organization like ours, it is busy work because every time we take our attention away from the candidate feels it. And that candidate is time 100. We have over 100 people work for us now. And those candidates want to be paid attention to.
Well, and again, this leads into something again. Sorry, Alex. We're going to get to your next question, but
okay, I'm here.
I want to
hang on to Alex.
I'll get in here eventually.
My wonderful co-host, Alex O'Neill, everybody, Hoorah Marine Corps. Want to give another plug. I want to hang a little bit on the metrics because it's important, and it shows, before we dive into what you're hiring for, what positions you're actively seeking. But, it shows to the strength, the testament of the strength of time, the metrics that you guys have proven, which is why you're the 800-pound gorilla in the room in America. Over 200,000 people you've touched and served and helped on their journey and their career journey. There's 65,000 confirmed hires. Talk about this confirmed hires. People always say, oh, well, you guys have served 200,000 people. You only have 65,000 hires. What's up with that? Can you guys touch on that for us?
Yes.
Stacy.
So one thing, that I have to say again was here when I got here was that everything hinges on the work of our team, right? We're proven. We like to prove the worth, so our counselors, they do a vast amount of work with individuals that are here. We do not take credit for a placement until we actually have all of the full data on the placement. So to the credit of our team, there is a large amount of work that they they go unrecognized for. And I don't mean internally, because I think we're always very good about recognizing their workload internally, but externally, we do not take credit and report that unless we have all of the data on that placement, to include the position they were placed into, the company, and some other data pieces. And the reason why we do that is, when we turn over data, we have a number of funders that like to have the backup data on candidates for many reasons. One of which is sometimes there are multiple nonprofit organizations that can provide services to an individual. This is one of our promises to funders, is by giving them the backup data, we can help to eliminate double counting of placements, because I think that's huge in the space. You've got a lot of people that might send an email, or an individual attends an event and they're marked down and they're counted towards as a placement in the space. And for us, we want to be very specific about the people coming through our program. They're provided these services specifically that are customized to the individual, and they were placed, and here are the metrics accounting for that placement.
All right, well, that's important to touch on that, so I appreciate that.
Wait, is it really my turn? Can I go now? Well, let's just dive into our programs a little. We obviously have so many different ones, but if you can touch upon those a little bit, and also what you're hiring for. And either one of you guys, whoever wants to take it.
I think Stacey will take that first. Yeah.
So program-wise, we try to keep things very streamlined. We have VetJobs, we have military spouse jobs. And underneath each of those houses, there are a variety of different projects or services that are offered to individuals, but holding to our brands. So under VetJobs, I'll just talk real briefly. We have customized programs specific to the National Guard communities under our National Guard Employment Network. We have reserve programs customized to those within the reserve forces outside of the National Guard. And the reason why we do that is they deal with differing factors in employment. And so there are a couple different things that are offered to them that others don't need, other types of services, that aren't necessarily needed by, say, a veteran or a transitioning active duty service member. So our programs pretty much revolve around those arenas, active duty, transitioning, Guard, reserve, and the veterans. On the spouse side, it's a little bit different. So we, of course, just as on our VetJob side, under military spouse jobs, we serve all spouses from all branches, all service eras. But one of the differences for spouses is, as they're transitioning around the world, they might not be in a position where they can or want to work at this time. We've all seen things happen in the military spouse side, high numbers of deployments. You're transitioning every 1 to 3 years, depending on what branch you are and what command you're attached to. So there's so many factors that affect a spouse's ability to obtain and maintain employment, that we provide career development services under our Spouse Nation brand, which can include certifications, training, a way for them to attach to industry and grow in industry, even at times that they cannot or choose not to work. And then when they're ready for placement, they shift over to military spouse jobs side of the house on placement programs where they're placed. In addition to that, we have projects and programs inside of military spouse jobs that I identify with the branches specifically. Our first and foremost, we have our National Guard military spouses that come through. They are served through Engine, but they can receive services under Skills Build and some of our Spouse Nation programs. And then we also have our Army Spouse program, and we're developing customized branch programs for every branch of service.
Well, that's a mouthful and a lot to unpack. Let me recap for the people in the audience. Let me summarize this for you guys. You're going to work. You're basically working here. You're going to support people in the community. You're either going to be working with transition service members, military spouses, or veterans looking for jobs, looking to expand their career, coming here for training. And then let's unpack that a little bit. Okay, so yes, working here, you better be somebody in our community. So everybody here under the umbrella, which is 100 of us now, is military, paramilitary, or military spouse. So we all know each other very well in the space. But But so you're going to be working with people in the industry. You're going to be working with our peers. And let's talk about real quick the positions, because you didn't really cover about that, more about the stuff. So there's the training department, there's the ES squad, you got your recruiter squad. Who what are you hiring for today, right now?
So
December
good question.
30th.
Very good question, because I just talked to our HR department, so we're up on what's available. We have a variety of positions. We're a company, and first and foremost, I always reiterate that to new contractors coming in. Yes, we're a charity. Yes, you're a part of the community you serve, but this is a business. We're here to do business, and so we hire professionals in the market that help us meet our business goals as a charity providing services. So we're hiring employment counselors, which we typically hire a number of them on an ongoing basis because of the new projects that we have coming on. We have to continue to staff those folks virtually. So we have employment counselors. We have a couple of positions open in our recruiter side of the house. So we do have a department that works directly with companies on direct sourcing and placement with those companies. So we've got a couple of recruitment positions. We have a training department. So we have, I think, 2 training positions that we're currently looking to fill. I'll put a plug out there for USAA under our USAA grant that we just received. So yay, USAA.
More than just a bank.
I know, more than just a bank. They're our family. So we have, in addition to that, we have some other types of positions, such project level positions, like for our Army spouse program, Army Up. We're currently hiring for a project coordinator, although that position we're trying to fill in-house first. Which again is another credit back to our organization. As we develop higher level positions, we do try to fill those internally first, because we want to give the people who have been here dedicated and loyal to the organization a shot at filling those positions first. And if they don't fill, then we open them up. But that's a current position, I think, that's currently open internally, and then we'll look to see what happens from there.
Well, so let me translate that for people out there in America. If you're HR oriented, if you're a people person, this might be great for you. If you're got a sales background, this might be great for you. You're going to hone in on your HR skills here. This is about prepping people this can build you up in the HR space. If I want to go down that career path, so it's going to help me out if I want to work as a recruiter. I can work inside of a specific industry, just to kind of give them some little bit tidbits about, hey, what does that do for me? Where does that take me? And that type of stuff. So I'll leave that there, but thank you for answering that. And let's jump in with Alex here.
Yeah, let's talk about remote work now. We're all remote, and obviously with the state of the world and how it is right now, it's a great spot to be in. Maybe talk about and let people out there know how wonderful working remote can be, because I know there's some people that you either love it or you hate it.
That's true, Alex. And since 2004, when virtual work was almost unheard of, we knew early on that military spouses in particular, and remember, we were a military spouse corporate career network. We started out as a military spouse organization serving military spouses. So often that's the flip side of they're a veteran organization who happens to serve military spouses. Well, we're military spouses who became so good at what we did, we started a veteran organization. Shameless plug, I realized, but I had to take that opportunity. For virtual work, there isn't anyone more poised to work virtual than a military spouse. I'm called many times now from my civilian friends who are first time working remotely ever. And they're having a very difficult time with the children being at home and the spouse now being at home. And military spouses have been juggling all of this since the military began. And I will say that I smile with my heart. I apologize. That's not a giddy smile, maybe just a little bit. Not only have we done good work during the pandemic, we've done amazing work during the pandemic because we've been this way since 2004. We know how to not just balance our home and our work life, we know how to maneuver our home life with our work life. And that's the secret. You can balance it all you want. It's until you learn how to maneuver it. That's when you become successful. And we're even, Stacy and I have been talking many times about starting a consulting thing inside of what we do in a nonprofit environment to teach organizations how to maneuver that, not just balance it, but maneuver it. Thank you.
I don't know if you have enough time in the day to do all that stuff.
Yeah, it's a great idea. It really is. That would be very helpful for many people.
One thing I'll kind of piggyback off of that is virtually this market, everybody's market really shifted virtually when we hit COVID. You mentioned that, Alex. And I had a lot of questions from companies that we work with who were struggling with that because, you know, our friends at JP Morgan or Boeing or some of the other companies we work with, they're shifting their manpower home. And they were asking, well, how are you doing right now? And I would remind them, well, we all work virtually. However, our people still get affected by this. And here's why. We're dealing with people that are not used to being at home, or they're not, you know, there's a lot of frustrated individuals who have been laid off, furloughed. That's a whole lot of emotion that is now hitting our team. And so we've really had to increase different types of training for our team to help aid them in how to deal with people who are frustrated. What are some strategies that I can use to continue to maintain to be professional, which they are very good at doing, you know, also contend and help people, you know, that are going through tough times, very frustrated. One of the key things that really came out is we launched our Skills Build, our IBM Skills Build platform back in March. And when I took the course load back to our employers, because we build course content by industry with our employers, and one of the things that came out of that was they were looking at our existing course load, and they actually picked out a couple courses and said, oh my gosh, for the people I hire, I want them to have these 3 badges. One was mindfulness. That was the top badge in the IBM system. IBM actually developed that course content. And it was so fascinating to hear a company say, hey, we want our people to have that. We want them to be key on mindfulness. The second was how to work in a digital world. And that was key. And that remains to be key, not just for us hiring internally, but for companies. Because if you cannot thrive in a digital world where a lot of positions are shifting digitally, you're going to struggle. So those are some good things I think that came out of our Skills Build platform with IBM.
And Stacy, you hit the nail on the head. And we're going to be having an executive on to salute to industry. I'm going to introduce Dawn to her. And she said verbatim this morning when I spoke to her, a computer can do everything a human can do. So she's not worried that IT is going to be this great big job. It'll be a great big job forever now. What they can't train are those soft skills. And then we need a better term than soft skills because they're better than soft skills. But Stacy, you hit the nail on the head. We need people who understand how to talk, how to communicate, how to thrive in this digital world, because it's still a very, as we talked about, you can either balance it or you can maneuver it. Better to maneuver it. Can I give a shout out to Veterans United at this point? Because when they're a recent funder, and in part of my presentation to them, what do you need in order to work from a home office? A home, right? And a lot of our military, well, you know, I'm only working from a tray table. Oh my goodness, the work you can do from a tray table, right, Stacy? The biggest funding amount I ever received came from work I did off a tray table. You know, so your home doesn't have to be this magnificent office. It needs to be digitized, right? It needs to be. It needs internet and digital. So that's the first thing. Is look at that. We had a Christmas office. Yes, we had a Christmas office decorated contest. We should really post that. You don't need a $50,000 mahogany board table to have a productive office. So we'll do that next time, Don. We're going to have what it takes to have a digitized, a very successful digitized office. But I give Veterans United a lot of credit because they said, you know, you can have your home, but it's got to be a productive home. I thought that was a mouthful. That was a good thing.
Well, unfortunately, that's one of the byproducts of COVID. I mean, it's unfortunate that this has happened as a pandemic to the world, but it's really forced businesses and the economy, because I follow a lot of the economy, to mature in that way where it's digitized things. So you're going to see a lot of businesses reeling, but they've created a lot more efficiencies. And yes, they've eliminated positions, or maybe now become work from home positions, but business has evolved. And fast forward, it probably would have taken us 5 years or more to get to this point that we've had an experience of in 2020 for businesses in whole, charities as well. We already happen to work from home here, but so it's forced people to get creative. And again, I think the world was heading there anyways, but not for the next couple of years. But it did fast forward us. But let's not dwell on that topic, though. Let's 2 things before we wrap up here. We want to one, touch on the remote work we did, and it's a great spot to be in. It's very, appealing. But outside of working from home, the culture here, talk to us a little bit, and let's close with what advice you have for people, a veteran spouse, somebody transitioning who's actually looking for employment today, because I think it's so relevant. To close on, it's the times are here. We got unemployment, it's rampant. We still have COVID here. We got the vaccine coming out. It's December 30th for those watching the video right now. We're not out of this yet. We've got 4 or 6 months before the vaccine's out there as a whole. What do you guys see in employment space right now? I know you're hiring here as well, so people put your position, inquire within for that. But what do you guys have as far as advice goes for those looking for work?
Well, thank you, Don. I'm going to give the heart and soul of this, and then Stacy's going to give the meat and potatoes of this, because Stacy's no nonsense. And Stacy's going to give them true techniques, true, not just tips, but very expert advice on how to maneuver your life. For me, I would say this. One of the reasons why we have the metrics we do is because I think we put our people first. Okay. We put our candidates first. We even put our candidates as a priority over the team. My job now in this organization is to take care of the team. The team's job is to take care of the candidates. I would say to everyone in a job right now, understand how precious that job is right now. Of course, you need to be paid more. Of course, you need better working environment. Of course, you need more. Everybody deserves more gradually. But if you've got a job, it's a precious job. If you're looking for a job, don't go into a desperate mode. There are jobs out there. You may have to be underemployed a little bit. Okay. You may take a job where you may consider it beneath you. But at this point, if an employer thinks enough of you to put you on their payroll, that's a precious thing. Okay. Don't be afraid to have gap employment. And I think Stacey and Alex and Don, you'll agree with me, desperate is not a job title. Okay. You're not going into a job for pay because you're desperate. You're going into a job for pay because you're a good person. You're a good person. And you don't want that gap. You're a good person. And that employer knows that. So don't be afraid to be a wee bit underemployed during a time of crisis. But in the meantime, then you're going to follow expert guidance from somebody like Stacy, okay, to put you in the job you deserve.
So I think the one thing I would tell people is markets are still open.
Yes.
And that's hard to see sometimes when you look at the news. The news shows a world in chaos. The news shows, stuff that we have to, as individuals,
the world's on fire.
The world's on fire. I mean, there is crisis, right? This virus is no joke. But I think that's the main thing being sold by the media right now. They're not talking about companies who are making strides to move past, that are continuing to hire while they focus on saying that the economy's down and everybody's being laid off. I mean, there's a lot of good news going on out there. Has hiring slowed? Absolutely. So be patient is what I would tell people. But to touch on something that Deb said, it's about the qualified person, right? You have to be qualified. If there's one thing I could reiterate to people is pay very close attention to the jobs you're applying for. Don't set yourself up for failure by saying, oh, I think I want to be a program manager. Well, are you qualified to be a program manager? No, I'm not. So let's get you into a job you're qualified for, and then let's help you be a program manager. So I think that's a part of what we do here.
Beautiful.
Is what do you want to do? What are you qualified to do? Let's get you into a job and then help you build towards being what it is that you want to be by providing gap skills training, certifications, whatever you're going to need to be into that job. But we always caution people, be realistic. Pay attention to what your needs are. I really hesitate to say underemployed to a lot of funders out there, because if you ask most people out there, they would probably say that they're underemployed. But in order to say that, you really have to know the market, right? So be aware of what the market is paying for positions that you're looking at, and identify if you really want to go into IT. There's ways to do that, but you're going to have to put the work in. And I think that would be my final message to people, is use this time to pivot to what you really want to be in life, because there is so much training and certification programs that we have that are free to military and military spouses. Now is the time to take advantage of those programs, so that as the market begins to open up, you're more competitive. You're in a better position to go into the type of job that you really want to go into.
I love that. And to tag on to what Stacy said, General James McConville says something that is in my heart every day. Don't rush to failure. Please don't rush to failure. Every stepping stone you take toward a job, into a promotion, it's a stepping stone. And Stacy, again, you hit the nail on the head. Know what you're qualified to do. Hold on to that vision. What do you have to do to qualify? I love that, Stacy. That should be on a tagline somewhere. I would steal what General McConville says. I'm sorry.
Out there, yeah. Put it on a T-shirt, bumper stickers.
Don't rush to failure. General McConville says that, and I really believe that. Don't rush to failure. Yeah.
Well, that's a great note for us to wrap right there. For those of you guys out in the audience, we appreciate you watching us and paying attention to this advice. It's key advice if you're looking for work. If you want to work inside of the charity itself, they are hiring. You can just simply go to this website here, VetJobs.org, Jobs for Veterans, register, and you'll get connected to an employment assistance specialist, and they can help identify what jobs are available specifically inside of the charity. So, Deb, Stacy.
Thank you, Don. Thank you, Alex.
Myself and Alex, we love you guys for coming on, and our salute to industry. And we look forward to seeing what's going to happen for you guys in 2021. And congratulations on a banner year.
Thank you.
10,000 hires. Way to go, guys.
That's the team. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, guys.
Bye.